Hi everyone, my name is Slava. I'm the founder of evee. This is my first time trying to make a YouTube video, and the reason I wanted to make it is because just to the right of me I have the car that everything started with, and you can see, so it's a 2016 Tesla Model S, which was the first car available in Australia for rent. The reason I wanted to make this video is because we're selling this car and it's been 4 years and it's been rented out. Quite a few people drove this car and quite a few people ended up buying a Tesla after driving this car. So it's somewhat emotional for me. You know, EV is now a big part of my life. I really live the idea and the business. So I just wanted to make a roundup of my ownership experience and everything that went well and not so well with the car. Hopefully you found it interesting and informative. So first of all, we got it in 2016, late March, early April 2016, and at the time Tesla Model S was the only option in Australia, so we went for this one. There were a couple of options in it. Next generation seats, which was optional at the time. You could also get the textile seats, but we chose the leather ones, or fake leather. I'm actually not sure at that point. We also chose Autopilot and premium interior, which added the power lift gate and a couple of other things such as LEDs on the inside. So with a couple of options and the Autopilot, the total cost was just under $140,000. Today, in just a couple of weeks, we're selling it for 66. So this is just less than 50% of the original purchase price, which I think is a really good thing. I think it's held up its market value pretty well comparing to any other petrol cars. Now today I'm just under 160,000 kilometers. I'll call it 160 just because it sounds better. And in 4 years, so we've done an average of about 40,000 kilometers a year. Most of that driving was on highways and traveling between Sydney and Canberra, and whenever it was rented out, people going on road trips to regional Australia as well. The car has traveled to Brisbane and back, Melbourne and back several times, and so it's done a lot of highway driving. A lot of people think that it's much more harsh on the battery to do supercharging, but obviously we got the car brand new, so it was 0k. Now after 160,000 kilometers, the battery capacity dropped by less than 9%. So when we would originally charge it to 100%, it would show about 365 k's on full charge, and now it shows 332. When it's warmer outside, it actually goes a bit higher, 336, etc. So it's about 8 to 9% battery capacity loss in this time. And the most interesting thing is most of that was lost in the first 80,000 kilometers. And then after that, it pretty much remained the same. This was the base Model S when we got it, an entry level at 140,000 K. That means it was Model S 70. Here stands for the capacity of the battery, so basically just determines the range of the car. It has got nothing to do with the power. Also, that means it's just a rear wheel drive. It's not a dual motor. That allows for more front trunk space, or Frunk space, which is amazing because we used to use it, put a stroller in there and the whole boot is still left untouched, and you've got plenty of room in there as well. The performance and handling of this car has literally not changed whatsoever. There's nothing that happens to the electric motors, and it accelerates and performs in corners and handles as well as it did on day one, which is incredible. And you know, this was a base model Tesla, non-performance, but Tesla don't make slow cars, so this one is solid under 6 seconds, 0 to 100, and probably, you know, 5.6, 5.8, something like that. And that doesn't change. It sticks to the road, it corners well, the battery sits low in the middle of the car, 50-50 distribution, and it's just a pleasure to drive, the same as on day one when we just picked it up from the showroom. I did a supercharging test the other day, so I'll just plug it into this video, and there are some interesting things about it. The supercharging total speed has definitely dropped down, but the initial, let's say 40 to 50%, still hasn't changed that much. You only need that much battery capacity to actually travel between, you know, long distances between superchargers. If you're traveling from Sydney to Melbourne, you would drive for 170 kilometers, 200 kilometers, stop for 30 minutes, supercharge and keep going. That hasn't really changed. Now let's talk about less pleasant things. Cost of service, cost of ownership, whether I had any issues with the car. We certainly did have issues in the first 80,000 kilometers while the car was still under warranty. We did have a couple of things, but it didn't bother me because, you know, it was under warranty. Soon after we ran out of warranty, after 80,000 kilometers, we had to replace MCU, the main media control unit, which is the main screen. And in the first couple of years, I was just raving about, you know, you only need to change tires and windscreen wipers, refill the windscreen washer, and that's it. That was basically the service, which it was. But soon after we ran out of warranty, or maybe at about 120,000 kilometers, we had to replace MCU, the main media control unit, which is the main screen in a Tesla, and that was probably close to $4,000 to replace. And we also had the main DC charger fail as well, and that was also out of pocket, about $3.5 grand. And then the little things started to pile up as well, such as door handles not popping up, and you know, it's $200, $300 here and there. So in the last 18 months, I probably spent close to $10,000 on service. So I would certainly recommend looking at some extended warranty options, which there are, just because all the electronics start to play up a little bit with age. And I'm sure the newer cars are a lot more solid in this sense. And once again, nothing happens to the drivetrain or the battery. They still live, and they're probably going to live longer than the car will. But the electronics, yeah, just be cautious with them. Another thing is about the business itself, right? Evee, with Evee, we rent vehicles out and allow other electric car owners to rent their vehicles out to basically reduce those costs of ownership through rental income, Airbnb style essentially. So because we've been renting this car out, primarily this was for business purposes, it's actually paid for all its costs, including depreciation, insurance, service, everything included, over 4 years. Once again, we bought it originally for $140,000. Now we're selling for $66,000, so just less than 50% of the original purchase price. And all that gap has been closed through rental income. So you can see there are slight marks on the seats, but it's just normal, regular wear and tear. There's nothing that just catches your attention immediately. Tiny little dent on the trim here, not sure where that came from, but it's definitely, you know, after 160,000 kilometers, I don't see anything that immediately catches my attention in the interior. And we've been using 2 child seats in the back. I've removed them for today. Once again, it's a little messy, but it's held up pretty well. You can only see the marks on the headrests from the child seats. An interesting thing about the rear-wheel drive Model S, Model 3, whichever it is that inner tread of the tires wears out a lot quicker than the outer tread. And that is because when the car accelerates, it actually sort of seats down, and so the inner tread has more friction with the road, and that's why it wears out a lot quicker. And another thing is regeneration happens only on the rear wheels. There's nothing on the front wheels that's actually stopping the car except the actual physical mechanical brakes. And one last thing, and also I just wanted to show you the front trunk capacity. You don't get this on any of the newer Model S, but this is big, this is huge. We had a foldable stroller and it could fit right in here. So I actually see this as quite a big advantage in the earlier Model S comparing to the older ones. Another interesting thing about this Model S, it has the enhanced Autopilot from 2016 on the single forward-facing camera up here that allows it to read the lane markings, but it is actually quite advanced. If you can see, currently it's just staying within the lane. I'm not pushing or touching the pedals, you know, my hands are just kind of near the steering wheel, resting on it when needed. I'm always ready to take over, but it's reading the lines pretty well, and it's holding itself steadily right in the center of the lane. There's a truck overtaking me at the moment, but as soon as it does, I'll show you that it does auto lane change as well. And it's interesting because auto lane change became available on hardware 2 and 3 Autopilot much later than on hardware 1. So currently I just flick the indicator, rest my hand on the wheel, and it starts making the turn. It goes up to 100 k's an hour to overtake that red ute on the left. well, there was a wagon, strictly speaking, and flick the indicator and it goes back to the left side, left lane again. It's just read the 80 km an hour speed limit, so I push, pull and hold. Oh, it's actually slowing down for the car in front of me. Pull and hold the stalk on the left, and it reduced the speed down to the top speed down to 80 km an hour. I've traveled a lot in this car between Canberra and Sydney, which is a just under 300 kilometer drive, and literally 98% of the time the autopilot just does its thing. Keeps going, keeps you within the lane. It's been great. The new Autopilot that has 8 cameras will give you a lot more visualization around the car. So currently, not sure if you can see the little screen in front of me. It's only showing the cars ahead of me. The new Autopilot has cameras that look all around, and it will actually show you more vehicles all around you, and it will show you the difference between trucks, utes, bicycles, motorbikes, even rubbish bins and things like that. So it's certainly surpassed the capability of this Autopilot Hardware 1, but I doubt that there's any other system in other vehicles, a driving aid, that's as capable as this 2016 Model S still on the road. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but I haven't driven any other car that's as advanced as this. Still following this red Honda Jazz, and we just got off the lights, and you see how the car just automatically started moving, and it's accelerating up to a safe speed, so I don't hit that car ahead with a top speed limit of 80 km an hour. And I just want to show you in the next, oh, that's interesting, there's a merging lane, and see, now the car is tracking, now the Tesla is tracking the speed of the other vehicle that just joined into my lane. And I just want to show you how it slows down completely at the traffic lights and just initiates the movement again when it's good to go. So it's completely controlling the speed at the moment. I'm not touching the pedals, and my hands are just here ready to go in case I need to, but there's been, you know, zero intervention from my end. And there you go, we're accelerating again. Let's change the lane and just go a little bit quicker here. Hopefully you can see the mountains in front of me. Just entering Tidbinbilla National Park, and it's just such a beautiful place, full of wild animals and mountains and just beautiful windy roads to drive on. So hope you can enjoy the view as much as I do. Let's try to do some spirited driving, what it's called here. I think the speed limit should be around 100 km an hour. See, that's another thing about handling the Tesla. Because the battery sits so low in the car, the handling is actually really good. It just sticks to the road and in the corners. It feels like it's just impossible to roll. I'm not going to try and attempt that, but oh, it's 80 km an hour, whoops. Stick to that for now, but it should increase down the road. But yeah, it definitely just sticks to the road. You have the full confidence that you can corner pretty much at, you know, not any speed, but at higher speed than, you know, you would get the confidence in any other car. So the battery is the heaviest part in the vehicle. That's why the whole car weighs just under 2 tons, which is a lot for a sedan, but most of it is concentrated between the wheels, and it's a complete 50-50 weight distribution, and this is why it handles so well. Another interesting thing, a lot of people say, I like the noise of petrol cars and electric vehicles don't make noise. Well, they actually do. It's just different to what we're used to, but you certainly do get a bit of the noise, and it sounds, you know, just a lot more futuristic, I guess. And over time, more and more people will just have to switch to and get used to this kind of noise. I hope you can hear that. It's just the whir of the electric motor building up. I did get overtaken by the bike, but I can certainly hold on to him. Alright, so I was about to get to the supercharger and I've got 29 kilometers left in the battery, which is about 10%, but I just want to try and discharge it a bit more to go in low and see what peak charging rate we can get to. So I'll drive a bit further for maybe another 10 minutes or so, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, and see what we can get out of a supercharging session. That's good. Only one car charging. I'll probably just park at the end of it and we're gonna plug it in and see what happens. All right, so let's see, I've got 15 kilometers left. It's showing to drive, and wow, look at that, it's like precisely 159,000 kilometers. That's cool. Charge port pops out, plug it in. Starts flashing blue, should switch into green shortly, and let's just go inside and see what speed we can get it up to. Wow, look at that, we're actually getting up to 110 kilowatts. That is surprising. It's dropping down gradually now, but to be honest, since yeah, wow, that's very cool. When it was brand new, it could charge at a, you know, peaked out at about maybe 115 kilowatts and then was dropping down. I'm actually very surprised with this, because most of the time when I was getting to the supercharger, it would only get up to, you know, maybe 78, 80 kilowatts and then gradually drop down. But yeah, look, when the battery is very low, it still goes up to 110 kilowatts. That's very cool. So yeah, you can tell, you can see how the charging rate is quickly dropping down. And this is one thing about Tesla, you know, they say charging speed of, you know, 1,000 kilometers an hour now showing, you know, on the newer vehicles, which is true, but it's only true for the first 10-15 minutes of charging. Then after that the rate drops down. So, you know, the fact that you can charge at 1,000 k's an hour for the first 5 minutes doesn't really affect the total charging time. So let's just time it and see what we actually can get out of this charging session. 1 hour and 15 minutes at the moment, and it's 1:49 p.m. and I'm just gonna go and have some lunch and probably do a haircut too. So currently the limit is set to 100%, and another thing that a lot of people that are new to electric vehicles don't know is the last 10 or 20% take so long that it's almost just not worth it waiting to fill up the battery to 100%. So see, it was total charging time of 1 hour and 10. I just reduced it by 10% to 90%, the limit, and the total charging time remaining is down by 20 minutes. Let's see if I move it even further down to 80. That's another 10 minutes. So I'm supposed to actually get to 50% in about 15 minutes. Yeah, but then the remaining 50% is going to take me almost an hour. So let's put it back up to 100% and see what happens next. Yeah, just another check-in 5 minutes later, and I'm actually curious because I think I can hear the cooling fans that's gone off. Just want to have a look. Oh yeah, there you go. So see, Tesla Model S, there's these plastic flaps that come up when it's cold, and basically for better aerodynamics on high speeds. But when it's charging, it needs extra air, it puts them down so you can have the extra air intake for cooling. So yeah, it's interesting because it's only about 10 degrees outside. Well, maybe a bit more at the moment. 11, that's right. But yeah, still the battery warms up enough for it to need that extra air intake for cooling. It's kind of interesting. I thought the car would actually better adjust to the changed battery capacity and capabilities and, you know, supercharging rate, and it would be a bit better at predicting the times. But actually this is about 15 minutes off in terms of timing. It was saying initially 1 hour and 15, and as you can see now it's still another 30 minutes to go, and it's already been an hour. I'm curious now if it's actually going to finish in 30 minutes. I'm expecting it's going to take a little longer. And as you can see as well, the charging rate has dropped down to 22 kilowatt now. Is it worth waiting for the last 15% of the battery for about 50 kilometers of driving range and just sit and wait for 30 minutes? Personally, I think it's not. And when you go out on long distances, you actually just charge from, you know, 10 to 60-70%. That's all. That's the whole charging rate, and that takes maximum of 30 minutes. But this time we're obviously just gonna wait and see what we get up to when the car is at 100%. Alright, so another quick update. We're probably at 90% at the moment, and the car still says it's another 15 minutes to go. If we look at the clock, it's actually 3:27 p.m. so it's been exactly an hour and a half, and the car is saying it's still another 15 minutes to go. So yeah, and it's barely just ticking over at 4 kilowatts, so that's really quite slow. So for the last only about 15 kilometers of range, we're going to wait for another 15 minutes. So yeah, really, I personally think it's just not worth it, but I want to see what it gets up to when it's 100% and what the total time is. So let's just keep waiting. So I couldn't actually charge it to exactly 100%. There was a very new Model 3 owner that turned up at the supercharger, and I was getting close to 100%, and the bay next to me, all 6 bays got taken by other Teslas, and the bay next to me where he parked wasn't working. So I just, you know, I was a nice experienced Tesla owner and let him charge on my bay, so I left. But the car reached almost 100%. Let's see what I could get it up to. Yeah, we'll see. It's probably 99% or so. Really quite, you know, almost full, and the time is 4:25 p.m. So in reality it's been probably 2.5 hours and the car was still charging. So yeah, it's just really interesting to see this. You know, the first probably 50%, the charging rate hasn't really changed all that much. You know, the initial peak has dropped, but the first 50% is still about the same time. The huge difference happens after, you know, the battery reaches 50% and slows down quite significantly. So yeah, that was quite interesting. I will try to do it next time up to actually 100% to see what mileage is showing. So at the moment, charged to, you know, it shows about, what is it, 325 k's left. When we got the car brand new, it was showing it would do about 365. Now when it's brand new, generally speaking, is about 330, so it lost about 35 k's of driving range, which is less than 10% actually, about 8 or 9, maybe 9% of the initial driving range. And you know, it's done 160,000 k's, and a lot of that is highway driving and supercharging during the stops. So thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and catch you next time.